Hi and welcome back to the Quarry Garden, and today I thought I'd do something a little bit different and give you a tour of the Quarry Garden. It's been about a year now since I started this mammoth task of converting this quarry into a garden. So for part one today I thought I'd show you the base of the quarry. So why don't you join me and come on in. So to anyone new to the channel, just wanted to explain, this is an old sandstone quarry which would have been mined back in the early 1800s, and the stone would have been used for local farmhouses and buildings. And obviously on my left, this big bankside which is full of ferns now, this would have been probably all of the spoil, I would imagine, where they've actually made inroads into the quarry. And as we travel around, it's got a central path all the way through till you actually get to the open section, which we'll get to in a few moments. The bankside, we have in the spring an awful lot of daffodils. This is the only thing that we've actually added to this section. It's purely maintained for wildlife. So we had daffodils and bluebells, and then on my left hand side is what we refer to as a dead hedge. And it was an idea that I got off a local nature expert here, a wildlife expert here in the UK, watching one of his YouTube channels. And it's good for birds, nesting birds, it's good for hedgehogs, mice, insects, all of that kind of thing. And it's purely just a pile of old vegetation, sticks, bits of wood that we've gathered up in the quarry, and we just leave it to rot down. And it's obviously full of weeds this time of year. But following on the path further down, we've carved out a section to my left here where we actually go and sit and watch the wildlife over the stream. Coming in from the path that runs centrally through the quarry, we've recently carved out this track, which does seem to be where the deer come through every night, and badgers. And we catch them or capture them on our wildlife cameras, which we have in different positions throughout the quarry. We've recently moved them down onto the stream. We've got two down on the stream at the bottom of this bankside and one here on this tree, which you might be able to catch when I walk through. The badgers do seem to evade the cameras. It's as if they know where they are, but the deer we do capture regularly every day. And the reason why we've created this area is so we can actually sit every night, weather permitting, and it's been lousy, the weather of late. We've had an awful lot of rain and wind, but on the rare occasions that we do get good weather here in Northumberland, we like to come here and sit and look down and watch the wildlife on the stream. So walking back down the path, either side of me here are areas that I do intend to garden. In the spring, again, it's daffodils, predominantly on my right-hand side, but we'll add more on my left. Apologies for the wind, hopefully the sound's okay, it's gone very breezy down here. And a lot of bluebells. But there's pockets on each section in between two big trees which I intend to plant. And the first one that I did was one of my very first vlogs. I added tiarellas and daffodils to this section here. And what I've recently added are hellebores and primulas, and they've come from the winter pots and baskets that I had. So I'm making use of everything that I've already got. The tiarellas did flower beautifully earlier in the spring, but they're just about flowered out now. But they've done really well, and I can only assume it's because of all the wet weather we've had over the last few months. Nothing really more to add to this section, but moving on down, I've been continuing to remove the weeds. Only on one side, I've obviously got the other side to do, which will be later on in the year. But I've added all of the spare plants that I've got, all the way down to where I added hydrangeas, probably in the winter time. So these are the hydrangeas that I cut back and moved from a different part of the garden, probably in the winter time now, and they're doing okay. They won't flower till next year, but so far I don't have any deer damage, which is a big plus. But this is the part of the path which then branches off into two sections. On the left-hand side is an area still to be developed. It's overgrown with comfrey and a few odd shrubs, but nothing else really. The middle section, I'm going to add a stumpery, and that was a great idea that was given to me by Jill, who was one of my earliest subscribers. So thanks, Jill, for that. So I'm going to develop a stumpery in this middle section, but again, it's another area to be developed in the future. And then behind the hydrangeas is the start of the wall of weeds, which leads onto the woodland. Now this is a big problem that we have. Don't have a solution for it yet, but it's on the list of jobs to try and resolve. But now I'll take you up to the beginning of the path where the quarry opens out and show you the rhododendrons that we planted probably midwinter. So we've now reached the end of the path, and this is where we carved out a very tiny section of ground bankside to add some rhododendrons. And these rhododendrons are the ones that had to be moved following Storm Arwen because of fallen trees. And they've done really well, surprisingly, having been uprooted. They've really recovered and are actually thriving, got an awful lot of new growth on all of them, so I'm pleased with that. But this whole bankside, eventually I would like to have rhododendrons and hydrangeas. But you can probably see from here this huge wall of weeds that we have to tackle. And I'll give you a better glimpse when I go up the woodland path. So leaving this bankside behind, I'm going to walk up a path which leads to our woodland. But unfortunately, you could get to the top of the path but no further because of all the weeds. And ideally, we'll have a path which leads all the way over into the woodland at some point, but I wouldn't even attempt to walk through there now because it's full of stinging nettles. I can see the woodland, I just can't get to it. So coming back down the woodland path, we get to the main area at the base of the quarry, which we intend to garden over the next year or so. Now this was all weeds everywhere up until about 18 months ago when we put the paths in. And now we're actually getting somewhere at long last, so it does feel like we're making some progress. So here on my right, this very large expanse of bare ground is a very boggy part of the garden. And we're playing around with a path in the middle. We're going to have a path which snakes its way through. We're just playing around with paving slabs, second-hand paving slabs that we've had from an old patio and stones that we've obviously found in the quarry. So the first thing will be, which will be in the winter time now, is to put the path in, and then we can start thinking about planting it up. But on my left-hand side here is what we call Hoster Alley. And this is probably the first success that I've had down here that I'm really happy with. And it's hostas, astilbes, and then it's backed by rhododendrons and grasses, phormiums. But I'm really pleased with this section. It's the first area of the quarry which looks maintained and managed. So leaving Hoster Alley behind, take the path round, and we have a very large sycamore tree which does give a few problems. Again, you can probably hear the wind or see the wind. Very breezy today, but it's very dry underneath here and very shaded. Difficult area to actually find plants that will survive, so that is something that we're looking at. And then here on my right is the new hydrangea garden. In its early stages, we planted these last September. They're doing really well. Don't quite know yet what else to add. I'm going to add some grasses, not quite sure yet. I'm mulling ideas over. But then leading on to my other area that gives me such joy is this bankside border. And it's looking really good. So let me take you in a bit closer. So the path down to the fern grove needs more development. The cliff side needs further work. It's actually done really well. The ferns are obviously all self-planted there, nothing to change there. Do need to remove some more of the soil on the cliff face to get rid of the weeds. This bank side in front of me will be the last section that we tackle. It's very overgrown. Close my eyes to that one, but it'll be developed further on down the line. So we've now come to the end of this part of the tour. We've reached the steps which lead to the top part of the quarry garden. We have an awful lot of comfrey. That's a problem for another day, weeds on this side. But I'd just like to say thank you to Mr. Quarry Gardener on camera today. He's done a really good job. And I just say thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you soon. Bye for now.